Brilliant. The time is now 10:02, so we're going to get started today. For those of you that don't know, my name is Laura Hodgkiss and I'm the Event and Training Team Leader here at the Chamber, and we are delighted today to have Fiona Miller with us, who's going to be doing our presentation today on interim marketing activities and planning for recovery. So thank you so much, Fiona, today for being with us. And for those of you that don't know and have just joined us, I know that I do repeat myself, so I apologise. It is an interactive session today, so you can ask questions via the chat function at the bottom and via the Q&A function as well. You can also, we will be doing some live questions as well for those of you that do want to speak to us live, which you can do so by just raising your hand, and not physically raising your hand because we can't see you, but just via the attendees list you will be able, there's a little button that says raise your hand, which we'll be able to do today. Yeah, I think that's it for today. So it's over to you, Fiona.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, everybody. I hope that you're well. And first of all, thank you to Laura and her team at the Chamber for having the Growth Hub on today. We're really honoured to have this session to be able to speak to everyone. And thank you to all the attendees. I know that there are quite a lot of you today, so I hope that you're going to really enjoy the content. And as Laura said, please feel free. This is very much your session, so however you want to communicate with us, you can stop us at any time, join in with content, thoughts, comments, questions, and we look forward to interacting with you throughout. So as Laura said, we're covering today interim marketing activities and planning for recovery. I think it's no secret now that marketing has been quite challenging for everybody at this period of time where we've never experienced before, and very much we're all feeling our way, whether you're at work in a marketing department, whether that's your first special skill, or whether you are a business owner and do it as a secondary. I think it's been a really challenging. So the first thing that I want to say to everyone is really very much be kind to yourself. Whatever you have done or you haven't done up to this point since the start of lockdown, it's not easy, and it's not easy to make the right decisions. So make sure that you give yourself a pat on the back for coming this far, and hopefully after today you'll feel a little bit clearer about what you can continue doing at the moment while we're still in a sort of semi-lockdown, and what you can start to think about to plan that recovery as we exit some shape or form the pandemic. So a bit of background with the Growth Hub. So I have been familiar with the Chambers for many years. I used to work for the Sentinel, and the Chamber and the Sentinel work very closely together, and so consequently had quite a lot of friends down over at the Chamber. And it was only about a year ago that I became familiar with the Growth Hub, and I heard about the project, and to be honest with you, I couldn't believe my ears at the time that there was this service available that was completely free to all businesses to get help, support, advice. It's all fully funded by European and government funding, which enables all of the Growth Hub specialists to work with businesses. And I know I've seen some of the names on the call on today's call who's with us today, and I know that quite a lot of you are familiar with the Growth Hub, but for those who aren't, please know, and I will be sharing some contact details at the end, please know that we are here for you. Any questions that you have, whether that's HR, funding and finance, general business planning, we have specialists in-house to help you with all of that, and we also have over 120 referral partners as well. So where are we at the moment? As I've said, it's been a real challenge, and I think the best place I can advise people to start, and this is what I always check back with when we're going through some testing times, is to think about the things that you see in your news feeds, any advertising you see on the television, any marketing that you see on social media for other companies, whether that's national brands, whether that's local companies that you're familiar with, and really gauge your reaction to any marketing that they're doing, and that sort of gives us a baseline really to understand where you're comfortable with. So very much observing around you, and I'm sure that subconsciously you've been doing this along the way, and you might have seen sort of pain points that you thought, oh, that's a little bit delicate, I perhaps wouldn't have put that out myself. Or you might have seen a lot of content out there particularly that's really great, that you thought, wow, what a brilliant company, how amazing that they're getting involved with that. And to really just continue to do that process, to look around you all the time. You know, are you having panic marketing come to you, which I know that I've seen myself as well. We're getting people who perhaps, and we completely understand that they're in a very fragile business situation at the moment, and that does create panic. And what we need to try and do as marketeers and business people is to find a balance, really, that enables us to get marketing across without demonstrating panic, that really we're worried about our bottom line and we want to get some sales in, because we really risk at the moment that fragility with our audience. And you know, an example of that might be you having sales messages coming through on your direct message on LinkedIn of people you've never really had a conversation with. And that, for me, without the pandemic, is always a bit of a fragile point. But you have to think about how you feel about these things when they do come through, and what's your reaction. Now, I know that there's going to be people on this webinar who perhaps are doing that. And that today is not about saying what's right and wrong. It's about feeling your own way. Now, personally, I feel when I get those messages at the moment that it's a little bit off the mark. So before you do any marketing, it's just very much reacting about how you feel when you see it. So again, any marketing messages, as we can see here, I still believe that we're in the acute phase here, and we should be acknowledging the pandemic. I think, again, testing your own reaction to things. If you do see marketing at the moment that doesn't in some shape or form acknowledge the pandemic, whether that's just a little lead in to say something along the lines of, you know, at these challenging times, we're here for you, or just making sure that you know that you're putting marketing out there, but you are acknowledging the pandemic. So again, just be cautious, be mindful of tone. We do still have a very acute phase, as I say, and there are a lot of people out there who've been touched quite terribly by this awful virus. So we just need to be very sensitive towards that. So I think as well, where it says show positivity in a genuine way, and very much what I mean by this is absolutely, if you have donated to some funds, if you've got some staff who have clubbed together and they've got involved in any way, whether you've done that as a company or your team have done something, it's great to share good news stories like that at the moment. And you know, when you see stuff like that in your news feed, how happy it makes you, and it just brings you that uplift, that bit of joy to think, wow, if anything's going to come out of this, we are all in it together, and that creates great emotion. It's a great way to do your marketing. But I say there in a genuine way, because we're very perceptive as audiences, and we will understand if someone's just doing something to be able to put the message out, the PR out there. So just be mindful of that, and being helpful and supportive to the audience, whether that's your existing client base, whether that's your new customers that you're hoping to build relationships with. And definitely communicating any changes, so along the lines of changing opening hours, or sharing that you're all still working if your teams are working from home. So it's just being honest and open at this stage. So this is very much where we are at the moment. And if you're anything like me and a lot of the people that I've spoken to, we've got some huge words and emotions on this screen, and I think we've flitted between the two at some points. It's been a roller coaster of a journey, both personally and in businesses. I think where we are at the moment is sort of crossing over a little bit more towards the rise. I think we were all in shock in the beginning. We thought we were in a TV show. We couldn't believe it was happening. I think for most of us now, the pandemic's sunk in, and we're also now looking to the future a little bit more, and we're looking to how we can adapt our business models and move forward. And I think from all the businesses that I've spoken to, everybody's done an amazing job of changing and transforming to adapt to these times. And sometimes we get so caught up in the day-to-day, I think we don't spend that time to just stop and, tell ourselves how well we're doing in these unprecedented times. So what we've got with the marketing in my mind at the minute is this wall in the middle, whereas if you don't acknowledge the pandemic and you just talk about the joy and the positivity that you feel, that really we might not be able to cross the wall in terms of it just might look a little tone deaf. So I would very much imagine your marketing messaging that if you were speaking to an individual friend and they brought out any of these words on the left hand side, how would you speak to them? What kind of tone would you use? What kind of wording? Now, you would want them to be positive and you'd probably try to lift them up, but you wouldn't do that without acknowledging what they're going through, because they would feel that you were just trying to jolly them up and completely ignoring how they feel. And when I had a little think about the content that we were going to cover today, this for me just struck a real chord, that if we just translate that a little bit to our marketing messaging, you know, that might help some of you out there. It might not resonate, that it will work with different people in different ways, but for me it was just about putting that messaging together to say, look, I know that we're in tough times at the moment, but our business is here. We're all really focused. We're able to support you in different ways. So please do come to us. And I think if we can just be mindful of this imagery as when we're putting the messages together, then hopefully that will help people. And I know, as Laura said, and I said at the beginning, please do feel free to chip in along the way. If you've got even just any thoughts or comments, or you don't agree with anything, or you do, keep sharing those in the chats or the Q&A, or put your hand up for Laura. I don't really want us to just feel like I'm talking at you for an hour. So again, going to some good content, we've discussed this already, but really those good news stories, the way that your teams have adapted, I think humanising the brand is a really great place to start at the moment. I've seen some cracking examples of this, you know, from a marketing perspective, that's the way that I'm looking at it, but also from just being human, just to see what's out there, the way that as a population we've enabled ourselves to care for others. You know, we're looking out for neighbours, we're getting involved with charity work, and I really hope that that's here to stay. And I think that if we can share our own business pandemic journey, you know, whether that is that you're all working from home and you want to share a Zoom screen with 20 of you on there, or if there's 3 of you or however many in the business, sharing that with your audience is a really nice way to say, hey, you know, we're in this too, and we're here, we're working alongside you the way that you are. And for any of those that perhaps aren't working from home who are on today's webinar, so your manufacturers and so forth, again, you can still do this by sharing photographs. You know, have you put your social distancing in place? Have you got tape marking out the floor? Have you got your workers now in PPE and new signage? So be open about what you're doing, because not only will it show that you're a good employer, but it will also help people as well. And the key at the moment is very much helpful content. So it will help other businesses to see what you're doing. So definitely be perhaps more open than you normally would, whereas sometimes we pedal like mad behind the scenes, and I think now is the time to really put what you're doing behind the scenes to the forefront. And again, it's providing reassurance that you are there, whether that's existing customers or potential new customers, that you're creating that confidence in the marketplace that you're still going to be there when you need them. This is quite a big message to put out. I know that there'll be business owners on this call who are nervous about that and nervous to think that way because they're worried financially where they are at the moment, and I do appreciate that. And of course we know that there's a lot of help and support out there, and colleagues of mine who can speak with you in that way, but just to reassure your audience, I think it's a great place to start at the moment. Again, as I said at the start, that it's very much about patting yourselves on the back at the moment. However you've done any marketing to this date, it's fine. You know, you've done the best that you could with the information that we had available. And if you've done any of these things, that's okay. This, again, is very much my opinion, and you have to feel your own reaction to these and to judge what you feel's right for your business. But for me at the moment, and you'll notice this very much, and I always think that a good place to start with a pandemic like this, or uncertain times, recessions, is look what the brands are doing. if you follow what the big brands are doing, they've all got £1 million plus marketing budgets. They've all got agencies and millions of staff working on their campaign. So absolutely be led by what the brands in your sector, you know, those national brands are doing. So if they're not putting out packages and offers, that's a good indication that it's not the right tone at the moment. And it's very much about judging the mood and making sure that what you are putting out is, you know, you've got to build relationships with people before you can get to that stage. And I have seen it. I've seen it locally. I've seen it nationally as well from some of the brands. And sometimes, you know, when you just see a little bit of marketing, whether that's in a social media newsfeed or elsewhere, that just makes you wince a little bit because it perhaps wasn't the right message at this time. It's just tuning into those feelings and applying it to your own business. Again, tread very carefully. There is a little potential of brand damage at the moment. Again, this is where you potentially a little bit too pushy, or you don't tap into the mood, or you continue while we're still in this acute phase to market without acknowledging the pandemic. Anything that would potentially leave you thinking, ooh, that's not probably what I would have put, then just be mindful before you put your messages out there to check back with that emotion. And also as well, like I say, just judge that mood, keep abreast. We're absolutely bombarded. I don't know about you, I'm sure you feel the same. There's content from every direction at the moment. So just keeping abreast of the latest government advice and making sure that you adjust your content and your imagery accordingly. And a small example of this is I was putting a piece out for social media that I was talking about caring. And normally when I use stock images, I would probably type in something to do with caring, or I'd think about hands holding like this. And I had to stop myself and thought, no, it's not good to put messagery out there at the moment with hand holding, because it's really not in the government advice. So it's just being mindful, and we all do it. You might have some imagery on your social media or your website at the moment that does contravene the current guidelines. So it's just doing a little bit of a refresh and a check just to see if you do have that sort of imagery, perhaps try and switch it out for something different at the moment, just to look on message. So how are we doing? Has anybody got any queries, questions, thoughts at this point? So don't hesitate to just pop them in. I'll just keep going until Laura comes through with any of those. But really, existing clients at the moment. Oh, Colin. So I think Laura's going to come and.
Hi, yes, let's get a live question from Colin. Bear with me. Hi, Colin. Oh, he's
you just on mute, Colin.
Colin, do you want to take yourself off mute?
There you go.
Oh,
Hi,
there we
Colin.
go. Okay.
Hi, Colin.
Hi, morning.
Morning.
We work with ozone and manufacture equipment, but we found ourselves really in the hospitality trade because we do a lot of work with commercial laundries, and they're not getting the work now because the hotels aren't taking people in.
Okay, yeah.
We have an advertising contract with a large company, and we spend a fair amount of revenue on this contract each month. Would you carry on servicing that contract now because most places are closed, or would you stop it in the meantime until later on in the year?
Do you know, it's a very good question, Colin, and it would depend on the type of publication, really. Is that a publication that's still going out? Is it digital? Is it traditional marketing?
They look after our website, they write our mailing shots for us, they try to get us in the right publications, they look after our LinkedIn accounts, etc. Okay,
I mean, if I was honest, I would probably say if the business can afford to keep that going, that you could really utilise that tool at the moment. That, you know, as we move out of the acute phase of the pandemic, we are going to hopefully start to see those sectors up and running again. And I think you've got a real opportunity now to demonstrate that you're still there waiting for them when they're going to be starting back. Potentially you could hopefully reduce maybe a little bit of the contract if you needed to, but I think having a brand agency or, you know, whoever the contact's with is really useful at the moment, just to, forgive the phrase, but to hold your hand through this. And there are so many ways that you can get the right messaging out there and create good emotion and good feeling in your newsfeed without directly selling and looking for new contracts, but starting to build new relationships and to demonstrate. I know your products well, and I think that you've got an absolutely great message there, that you know how hygienic the results are, and I think that's perfect for where we're at now. It might just be that you change the messaging slightly for the acute phase, and then as we exit that and we work towards those sectors being able to reopen again, that you can then start to ramp up a little bit more marketing. I'm more than happy to talk to you in detail about that offline if you like, you know, after the webinar. But really good question, thank you.
Yeah, that'd be great. In fact, I mean, we've done more in Europe in the last month than we've done in the UK in the last 3 months.
Wow, that's really interesting, isn't it? Just the difference in the markets, you know. And I think, yeah, you've absolutely got a real opportunity because of the nature of your service that you can put together some real good marketing on the back of that. So yeah, definitely happy to have a chat. Thanks, Colin.
Okay, speak to you later.
Thank you.
Colin, bye.
Bye.
Okay, again, anybody else along the way, feel free to chip in. If you don't feel comfortable with speaking the way that Colin did, it's absolutely okay as well to just pop something in the chat box or Q&A. Again, looking at existing clients, so all potential customers are important to the business, but for me at the moment, this is the bread and butter. This is what you need to handle with kid gloves. It's where you need to place a lot of your time and energy, because this is the area that you might have some risk depending on their sectors, and very much working in that two-way street with your existing client base. And I hope to this point, as we're up to date here, that you've been having some conversations along the way with them, and it's okay if you haven't, but I imagine you will have done by now, and it's putting something in place that really sets their expectations. So if there's going to be changes to your service or your products, it's just working with them. Be open, be honest, make sure that you've got a communication strategy in place with your team. You know, are you going to send them an email once a week maybe, rather than the once a fortnight or once a month that you do, just because the changes are so rapid and you want to communicate with them? Have you spoke to them all individually? Or, you know, if you have a huge existing client base, how are you putting those communication points in place with them? We appreciate, and you might have already had some clients, you know, very much like what Colin's just said, so flipping that around to look at the company that Colin's working with there. You might, depending on the nature of what you do, have clients who perhaps don't know if they can continue at this stage, or they don't know if it's going to be right for them. So it's working with those clients to put something in place that's going to help them. It's going to keep their brand perception of you positive. And whether that might be putting a slight delay on invoicing, whether that might be putting things on hold for a month or two. I know it's really, really difficult to make decisions like this at the moment, because you need to keep the business going, and it's certainly not for me to say switch all your revenue, income and revenue off. But if you do have any customers who are in difficulties or want to just put the brakes on, as best as you can, if you can work with them, just imagine what you're going to get on the back of that and how positive they're going to be about you because you helped them. You know, to the contrary of that, I've heard a few different things. I've heard, just to give you an example, I've heard of companies who panicked initially and they were trying to charge cancellation fees for their clients who weren't able then to attend things that weren't legally allowed to go ahead. And I think everybody has a bit of a knee-jerk reaction. So it's just being very mindful with your existing client base of, these guys are your kings, so how can you make them feel that way? And again, for any new clients, we've talked about this, but it's not about going for the hard sell with panic strategies at the moment. It's about building relationships. It's about showing off your brand and your team and your company in a very positive light. Get people out there to notice you in the way that they become brand fans, and actually then naturally they want to work with you in the future. So very much at the moment it's about building foundations. You know, and you might potentially want to or need to reforecast your new client budgets as part of the strategy at the moment, because maybe the growth might not come from that so much. It might be for your cross-sell to your existing. So it's just about looking at that and making sure that you're getting that side of it right.
Brilliant. Fiona, I'm just sorry to interject. You've just got a question. Am I right to ask?
No, that's
Brilliant.
fine.
So Lynn's just said, my business is a business-to-business consultancy. I'm trying to offer my services to help support them in this difficult time, but I would be an additional cost to support any changes that they may need. Many of us are not wanting to spend much money right about now. How can I pitch something that will show that I can help them?
That's a really good question, Lynn, and maybe that might be that you can offer, and I'm not too sure what the exact package is at the moment, but maybe it could be that you could offer something like an added value in terms of you could do an initial consultation sort of gratis and not charge them for that, or it might be that you could, if you're in a position to have conversations with them about finances, that you could potentially do a delay strategy so that they pay in certain chunks that are suitable to them. And it might be that one size doesn't fit all at the moment. It might be that you tailor that offering to the individual and their circumstances. So very much just about making sure that they know that you're a friend at the moment, you're a business friend, you're there to help them. And absolutely, if they need a little bit more time to pay than would normally happen, then definitely if you're in a position with a business to do that, then that would be a good way forward. So please feel free to comment back if you want some more on that.
Brilliant, Fiona. Sorry, I've just got one more for you, Fiona.
Okay.
So John has just said, following on from Colin's comment, my local and UK business has disappeared. Clients running for the hills are on hold, twiddling thumbs, but my EU and US clients are all planning, preparing and making sure they are ready for when we return to whatever the new normal may be. Do you agree that business should be taking this time to review processes and marketing assets to run as soon as right to do so?
Absolutely. Sorry, Laura, I didn't catch the name there. Who was that?
It was John.
John, absolutely, John. I completely agree. Potentially, we have to look around at the other nations that maybe they've had their roadmap a little bit earlier than we have, whether that was because they were through the pandemic a little bit further on than we are. So it's still really new. We're almost in the second phase now. We've had that published this week. I think the messaging very much, and I know with the Growth Hub and the Chamber and the government, is let's get ready for business again. So absolutely the perfect time now to plan, to strategize and to review everything that you're doing. I feel that this will catch up. I've noticed with the marketplace at the moment that we almost go a little bit shell-shocked in week one when we have some new directives. So I think we're there at the moment. We've just had all those that data published. So I would hope by next week that people are very much at that drawing board and ready to prepare. If not this week, they're ready to start thinking about that. So I think we will catch up with it. Okay, anybody else at this stage?
I think that's it.
That's it for now, lovely. So again, let's have a look where we are, sorry. So I just thought it'd be interesting to see what the big brands are doing. And again, earlier in the webinar, I mentioned that looking for the big brands is a great place to start. So I love this Audi campaign. I think it's absolutely brilliant. The simplicity of it is lovely. It's still a brand recognition tool. And again, Coca-Cola, very, very simple, but bringing that together message. And I think Nike was one of the earliest ones, which is why it got so much traction, of course, aside from them being Nike, but it was one of the earliest campaigns that was released. And just great to see how that messaging was flipped around and changed to suit the pandemic. Again, another one of my favourites with this Burger King. So instead of home with a Whopper, it's now stay home. So simple, but really effective. Guinness, I think there was absolutely huge campaign about this in all the press, particularly the marketing press, about the genius of it, that the foam of the pint is now a sofa. And again, DFS really able to show that they're on with the messaging. I really like the Birdseye one, and you've got the one of the marketing chiefs there from Birdseye just saying that they didn't want to go dark. So in that, I believe them to mean either go dark as in not advertise or not message, but they didn't want to you know, go heavy with the messages either. So they've kept it fun. They've brought in the children's rainbow, but they've still stayed on brand, and I think that's really nice to see. Habitat as well, they're really capitalising and tapping into that thought process that we're going through, that we've all got a new view on the world and the way that we live at the moment. We've all got more gratitude for our homes, hopefully, and for what we have. Very simple, and just a nice message from Ford about support, to say that they're able to be flexible with financing. And then again, this is where I spoke earlier about changing your messaging or changing your imagery. If you're using imagery that's hand-holding, we all know the Colonel's catchphrase, it's finger licking good, absolutely not appropriate at the moment. So they have put that message on hold, which is, you know, of course, great to see. And then there are just a few examples here that I'd like you to think as well how you feel about these. So they're not particularly bad, but I saw the RAB advert. I love RAB products. I think they're a brilliant company. I saw this ad last week online and very much promoting mountains, and it just felt a little bit off message because we'd been told to not go to beauty spots, and that was one that perhaps didn't sit right for me. It looks like a standard ad that they've probably had set up for the season, and it just, for me at this time, felt a little bit off message. I don't know how you would feel about that. And then controversial one here. So I noticed this one when I was in Tesco. I saw the red Aldi price match flag around the store. Didn't pay too much attention really, but then I've seen the ad campaign to back it up, and they're really pushing this out at the moment. Now, I don't know about you, but I really like the banter between the supermarkets that generally happens. I think it's funny. I think Aldi are always very witty with what they come back with. They put this message, you know, Aldi put this message back to counteract Tesco's campaign, and I appreciate they were half-backed into a corner of doing that, but just to have that little bit of that banter and that play at the minute, for me, it just didn't feel like the right time. Earlier in the pandemic, I saw a lovely full-page ad that had every supermarket logo from the UK all together on the same ad, and it says feeding the nation. And I thought, wow, they're all coming together in the public eye, and isn't that brilliant? And I think that for me sat more comfortably and where the messaging should be at than this little spat that's going on between Tesco and Aldi. I don't know what anybody thinks about that, or if they've seen any other examples along the way that perhaps made them think. If you've got no comments at this stage, and again, Laurie, if we do get them, just feel free to stop me. So at the moment, we've got this, excuse me, I'm just going to move my screen out the way a little bit so I can see. So anybody who knows me, and I know there are plenty of people on today who sat down with me and had a one-to-one or have seen me at other events, they know that I'm a big fan of this diagram. It's something I put together based on originally my own journey with marketing as a potential consumer. And so I know we've got some comments coming through, so I will stop in a moment, but the purple line is any marketing, is the customer's journey. The blue line across is any marketing that you do, and the grey touch points along the way are marketing that you do as well. Now, I want you to imagine if you put a post out that might get shared by your contacts, or it might be through other organisations such as news desks or the chamber. So however that person first comes into contact with your brand in the first instance. So okay, if it was a good post and we followed what we've been thinking about throughout this, that we got the messaging right, now hopefully that potential new customer would like what they see, and to the point where they maybe follow your accounts. And then they forget about it and something else pops in and they go off and do other things. And that's why it's really important then to keep that messaging regular. and remind that new customer, because we do have a busy world and we're getting interrupted all the time with this marketing journey. How do we capture that attention back? So once we've got them following the account, we can then continue to do that by having a regular strategy that speaks to these potential new customers. Again, if they're very interested, or they've got some interest in your area, which they hopefully do have because they followed your accounts, then they may be at some point when they have a little bit of extra time want to find out a bit more about you. So hopefully then they will Google the business. This is very much where your Google My Business panel comes into play, and hopefully if you have, or you're going to start doing, encourage your, what I call your hero customers to leave some good reviews for you. That really creates a great first impression when the potential new customer Googles the business. They're then going to click onto the website. So is that website building up a good impression? Does it reflect what you do? Have you tweaked it for a while, or is it a bit dated? As you know, did you last update your newsfeed 2 years ago? We all do this. It's difficult sometimes, particularly if you're running a business without a marketing function, you're a small business owner, to remember to have the time. But what I want you to think about when you do any of your reviews is this customer journey. So when we kick off the new potential customer journey, how do we keep them engaged, first of all, but how do we leave them with a positive impression? And for me, that's what I call your digital footprint. So it's aligning all those elements to imagine that you, the new customer, when you do a review, look at everything that's out there about the business. Does it reflect what you do, or is the content just not quite there? Just do some time, spend some time to make sure that those positive impressions are going to be there. And again, hopefully that, you know, if you can get them to subscribe to the website, and you've got a nice program of email communications on the back of that, and you potentially put blog content out. At that point where this customer might have been aware of your brand for a couple of months, they've got it at the back of their mind that they need your product or service and they like what they see, this is where we can really start to engage with them and start to move that customer journey forward. And already in the new customer's mind, they've built a relationship with you because they've engaged with you in this way, and therefore the close becomes a lot softer. It makes your job a lot easier when it comes to selling, but it's very much about engaging that business and making sure that when they do get to the point where they want to have a business conversation, the whole journey was left with a positive one. Again, please do feel free to comment as we're moving throughout this. Any thoughts on this? You know, are you doing it at the moment? Do you sometimes forget parts of it, or do you do this yourself? That's always the best place for me to start. You know, for example, I might see something on Facebook. As I'm flicking through my newsfeed, I might see an ad pop up that's actually really relevant because they've got my cash, so that it's serving to me what I've already been looking at. It catches my eye. First thing I'm going to do there, and I don't know if you will be doing this yourself, but I know a lot of people do, is Google that business, because I want to know, is it real? Is it based locally in the UK? Because I don't want to be adding my credit card details to something if I am going to make a purchase. We're testing for trust, and that's what this whole customer journey and digital footprint is about. It's about showing your potential new customers that they can trust you. How do we do that now? If you just spend an hour, half an hour on this, reviewing your own marketing, then you will potentially find a little bit of a chink in that journey where you think, oh, I'm just going to tweak that web content because I know we're better than that, and it's not saying how brilliant we are. I know Sean's just raised her hand. Is Laura there? Lovely.
Brilliant. Sean, can you hear us?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Hi, Sean. How are you?
Hi. One of the questions I just thought I'd ask, because one of our main, we connect with our client base is through social media, but we haven't got a product as such because we're dog walkers and dog trainers. Obviously, we're not really doing that at the moment. And we're thinking, is a good way to connect and keep up sort of appearances through like blog posts and videos? Is that a good idea?
Absolutely, Sean. And I think, you know, it's clearly been challenging for you at the moment with everybody now or most people able to work from home and to take away your service. So it's clearly been a tricky time, but absolutely keep up with your marketing. Again, what we spoke about earlier in the webinar, it was humanizing the brand and making people remember you. So you've worked really, really hard to get your business, and this is true for anyone on the webinar, get your business to where it is and get those customers involved to remind them that you exist. And this is mainly a protection from the competition. We all know at some point, if people aren't using our services now, whether that's dog walking or laundry cleaning like Colin before, they will do in the future when we go back to some semblance of normality. So it's about continuing with that hard work you've put in initially. Blog posts, you know, if you've got your own dog, funny videos while you're out and about walking them, anything that's relevant to the business that just keeps the brand alive in your audience's mind is absolutely perfect.
Perfect, thank you.
Lovely. If you do need to, again, to anybody who we speak to, if you do want to talk about anything in more detail, then I'll be sharing my contact details at the end. I'm more than happy to do that.
Lynn, I've just noticed you've just popped on the chat that you don't fully understand how to use Google Business. That might be something that we might be able to connect you with somebody after this webinar, just to go through possibly getting you some training really on Google Business. Is that something we can do, Fiona? Yeah,
absolutely. And Lynn, it's really it's one of those things that once you make friends with it and you spend a little bit of time on there, that it's Google's very clever as a business. They want to make everything as easy as possible, and they effectively say that you will spend on AdWords down the line, but we can talk through that absolutely, and there are ways to make it more user friendly. And once you've got your login up and running and you've tinkered around with the dashboard, you'll then very easily be able to go in and change your photographs and update your opening hours and that sort of thing. So I'm more than happy to have a quick chat with you after the webinar offline. We can put a slot in, you know, put a 20-minute slot in and talk through that. That's fine.
Fiona, just looking at this, and we've got quite a few people actually that don't know how to use Google Business. Can I just quickly, those of you that don't know how to use Google Business, can I just ask you to just pop in the chat function at the bottom that you don't know how to use it, or would you like some training on it? And if so, we'll probably run a webinar on it if we think that that people need that at this time. So I don't know whether anybody feels like they need Google Business. Is there anybody out there apart from the three that yeah, so lots of people actually saying they would like some training on Google.
Perfect. So lovely. We'll put something together then. I'll grab a load of screen grabs into a PowerPoint so that it can talk you through just to navigate around how to use it, and then you can always then have a phone call with me along the way. But once you've been up and running with it, it's one of those things that when you've learned it the first time, then you'll be absolutely fine with it. So I'm confident that everyone on the call can become a whiz kid on there.
Wow, we've got lots of people that want that, Fiona. So yes, so we'll schedule something, guys. So just keep an eye out on the calendar really, and those of you that have attended today, we'll just make sure that some training is available for Google Business for you. So don't worry about that. I apologize, some of you that have put your questions in the chat box, I've lost them because I've got that many people saying yes, we would love some training. I just ask you to move your questions from the chat box just to the Q&A, just so I can keep on top of it. That would be brilliant. And like I said, what we'll do is everybody that's attended today, we'll just make sure that some Google Business training is available to you, and we'll just send that across to you as well. Brilliant. Let's just go. Sorry, we've got some questions as well.
Right.
So I'm just going to go through some of these for you, Fiona. So Tony, we will be soon launching a new product, outdoor hand cleaning stations for primary school children. I'm thinking of doing a blog about the development process and product rollout. Where do I start, and any tips on content structure? Would a video type blog, if there is such a thing, be better?
Hi Tony, nice to hear from you. Brilliant idea, really great to see you diversifying there, and I know this is already your audience, so you've got those relationships, but anything that you can put together that will help your customers make decisions is perfect. So you might decide to do like you say, a video, you might take some imagery of them, a blog piece is great. You've got all your social channels set up already, I know, so you can be definitely sharing the content across there. And hopefully once that audience reopens again, it might be a little while before you've got decision makers there, but most of them are open in some fashion for the children of key workers at the moment. So you should be able to somehow tap into that and put that across to them quite early on. Maybe some email campaign will be useful for that, because hopefully you're going to have decision makers still picking emails up. So if you decide that you want to do a video, you can do an e-shot to that and link out to it in the video, and perhaps put some imagery in there, and hopefully before the masses of children go back and all of the years go back, that could be in place. So more than happy again to talk to you in more detail about that one. Okay, Laura, we've got another one.
Stuart says, what would you say is the typical time frame between the start and finish for the customer journey?
Stuart, was that, Laura?
Yes, it was.
Yeah. Stuart, that is a cracking question, and it's very much how long's a piece of string. It can take some people 6 months, it can take some people a week. We're all individuals, as we know, and you have to think sometimes about your own potential new customer journey when you're thinking about any product or service you're going to buy or get involved with, whether that's in your personal life or the business. Sometimes we get distracted and something is really important at the time, and we're very much like, right, I'm going to crack on with this and I'm going to really make some inquiries and make a decision. And then something pops in, whatever that distraction is, and it takes us off the course, and then we go back to it later. So it very much can depend. It can be, I wouldn't expect it to be a quick win, to be honest, in terms of a week. It's got to be a longer process than that, because to build up those positive impressions, it's not a one post hit. It's very much an impression that people build up over time. So I would probably say a minimum of around a month if I was just going to have to put a number to it, but it can be anything between a month, 6 months. It might even be over a year with some clients who, again, their priorities change, but they do keep your accounts on their screen. And if you keep marketing to them, eventually when they do need that product or service, they'll think, I know who's to go to. So yeah, this is very much a slow burn. Okay.
Just one more question that's just come through that I've just scrolled up and managed to see in the chat. Dave has just asked, for the last few years we have slipped off the first page of Google when using keyword searches like rail holidays. It seems the Google Spider is a lot more intelligent and intensive than perhaps it used to be.
Yeah.
I wanted your thoughts on that, really.
Absolutely, and you're perfectly right. Google has been very, very, very clever. One of the biggest businesses that I admire the strategy. I've been involved with SEO and Google since, originally the conception, working on this probably for about between 8 and 12 years. And they started the business model off that you could whack a load of keywords at the bottom of a web page, and happy days, you would come to the forefront. As each new algorithm change came out, we went through the updates with Penguin and so forth. They really changed that, because what Google wants to do is serve relevant content to its search audiences, and it wants to make sure that people think Google's brilliant, which most of us do, because every time you search for something on Google, it brings the perfect website back for your query, and that's why it's tightened up the process. It's very much about content at the moment, so making sure that your content is right for what people will be searching for, and that's what Google's looking for. There are additional updates that's a whole other session, but that's really where it's at. And Google very much is a business as well. It does want to drive you towards AdWords spend, so sometimes there can be something like that to keep in mind, that if you've done everything and you're still not ranking, how competitive is your sector? And eventually, sometimes the way forward, once you've got all your organic SEO set up, is very much about just topping it up with a bit of AdWords spend. Totally agree with you. Hopefully that answers it. Lovely. We got any more, Laura, for now?
That's it for now. You can continue.
Brilliant. So we're rapidly running out of time. I'm okay for time. I'm happy to stay on a little bit longer. But do feel free if you need to leave by 11 when we did schedule to leave, then do that, but we'll just carry on working through. Now, when I've put this webinar together, generally I'd probably use some marketing models, I'd use some data sets, I want to keep today very much about the emotion and the psychology behind marketing, because we are going back to the wall. We were trying to scale that wall. And I think if we don't keep that in mind, and we just get absorbed into marketing models, then we're going to forget that. So absolutely, if anybody would prefer to know some models to work with, then you can pop me an email afterwards and I can send you some bits and pieces over. But just really checking that drawing board as we move towards recovery. What can you be doing now? We've touched on it briefly, very much reforecasting the budget if necessary. Now, it is a sad fact of life that potentially this year, or the next 18 months, or however long you feel that's going to be for your sector, might have a different set of budgets than you put together 6 months ago. Hopefully that you can spend some time to reforecast it and adapt the product and service to make sure that you've still got some growth potential. So definitely spend some time with that. If you need to, work with your accountant for it. I know it's really tricky at the moment to reforecast budgets because we really don't know what the fallout's going to be for the economy, but the messaging out there is very much that we want to recover very quickly as a nation, and I know that all the business organisations are working with firms to really get that message across, and hopefully we can very quickly instill consumer confidence. So you might be cautious, and that might be an ongoing process to review it now, review it again in 3 months, and just keep checking back in with where you need to be at as a business. What's your break-even point, and where do you think that you're going to come in with what you know at the moment? Again, we've touched on it, but it's looking at your product or service offering. We've just had Tony on from Great Grounds, who works with the education sector, and he's created some hand sanitizer stations for them. Brilliant, great example of diversifying his product range. He's reacting. I know I've heard so many stories along the way, and genuinely makes me really proud to be part of this county. We're so resilient, we're so diverse, and everybody's got a can-do attitude. Is there something, what you're offering at the moment, that you just might need to tweak that offering slightly? Whether that's creating a new product line or whether that is just tweaking the service that you do offer. Again, we spoke to one of the ladies earlier who's got the consultancy, and do you need to put something in place to build confidence in the beginning? So do you need to offer something along the lines of free one-to-ones and so forth? So definitely check your offering is going to be relevant for this new phase that we're going through. Again, we've touched on it, I can't touch on it enough. Just keep those current customers as happy as possible. Be understanding with them. Know that they're your bread and butter. Know that sometimes they might not be able to pay you straight away, but they might need an extra week or however long. So as best as you can to keep your business protected as well, please try and look how you can work with those existing customers to be that friend and be that part of their team, so that they know they've got that positive perception of you. You might then want to segment that existing customer base into different pots, whichever title you give those pots. It might be based on sector. You might think, okay, well, some sectors there's going to be potential risk that the spend's going to reduce. I think I'm going to maintain in certain sectors. And then actually we've got a growth area because I'm going to be putting a new product out there, and I think that we can get some growth from a certain sector with that. So you will know what those pots as I call them, but pot titles look like. So it might be a really nice exercise for you to just spend some time looking across your existing customer base and working out what that looks like for you. Keep saying it, but keep the communication going. Even if at the moment you're not working, even if you're not running a full service product line, we've touched on it with the dog walking, definitely keep in the mind's eye. Put anything out there that you think is going to be relevant to the situation. Keep it light, keep it fun, but just keep your brand alive because you've worked so hard to get to this point. Definitely don't go in the dark and then just think that you can pop up again in a few months' time, because by that point in time things will change, things will move on in people's minds. So just make sure that you're there. Again, do that review, spend some time looking at your digital footprint from a new customer's perspective. Does it reflect how brilliant you are? Again, you can identify the potential new customer streams that you might decide to tap into a whole new sector. And this is very much about reacting to what's happening at the moment and getting your thinking caps on for how can you change your business, how can you adapt, how can you work with different marketplaces. Really spend this time now just going back at that drawing board. making sure that you're ready, because it will come. And I do believe, hand on my heart, I've worked in business for a long time now, and I've seen these dips, I've seen the boom times, I've seen the dips. It will come back. It will look a different landscape. I think we're naive if we think that it's not going to look different, and that's mainly because hopefully our psychology's changed. We've been through the mill. We're going to think differently. But what will always win at the end of something like this is the good guys. So if you are kind and helpful and supportive with your current and prospective customers, leaving good impressions with all your marketing, then absolutely we'll come through the other side of it. Sorry, Laura, have you got one?
All right, you just got a question, so I just wanted
Lovely.
the question. So Ted says, you mentioned the introduction of advert words after the initial SEO. What does this mean, changing the content on the website by adding some keywords, or does this mean changing the page content title to match that keyword?
Oh, I understand. I'm sorry that I didn't clarify that. So AdWords, Google AdWords is Google's pay-per-click offering. So I was talking about the paid-for element there. So really, for aligning your content for SEO, it's very much about making sure that you've got good content there. You've got enough content that all your on-page SEO is up to speed. You've got all your meta tags and your H1 tags, your images all tagged correctly. Unfortunately, there isn't a quick hack anymore. You can still work with keywords, because of course that's what the spiders pick up when they're running the website through. So definitely have them in there, but have them in there in a genuine way. So make sure that Google knows, Google knows if you've whacked a load of keywords in and it doesn't read well as a paragraph, they know exactly what you're up to. So definitely be peppering the whole website with keywords, but really making sure that it's part of a comprehensive piece of writing. And again, when I talked about AdWords, it's if you do at some point in the future decide that you want to get that additional traffic and you've got your organic SEO where you think it needs to be, then it's a good opportunity to add some spend in there and to take some AdWords on.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
Just a couple of things, Fiona. There's a couple of people just on the chat just asking if the slides will be available afterwards. As long as Fiona's happy with that, which I assume she is.
Yeah, so I'm going to put my email address up at the end. So anybody who wants a further chat, definitely ping me an email over, and we can either have a chat, or I can send you some bits of the slides. No problem at all.
Brilliant, fantastic. And I believe we've got Jenna that's just popped her hand up. If you're okay to take this question as well, Fiona.
I certainly am. Hello, Jenna.
Jenna, can you hear us? You've just got your mic on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Hi, Jenna. How are you?
Hi, Fiona, you okay?
I'm really good, thank you. Nice to hear from you.
I know, yeah, doing very well. Yeah, just a quick one. I mean, as you know, I'm a landlady of a pub, but I've now gone into business as just on the back of obviously all this pandemic, into manufacturing. We've come up with a concept for outdoor seating to help the hospitality industry reopen in a safer way. But it's all very, very quickly. It's happened literally within the last 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. So we're just literally trying to start up a website, looking at getting it marketed and targeting it the right companies, which it'd be more on a sort of a mass sort of going to like your big chain pub companies, all those kind of businesses is what we're targeting. It's all very, very new to me. So we're in the middle of building the prototype. So again, it's still very early doors, but I'm trying to target those businesses via LinkedIn. Because as you said before about potentially bombarding these people and making the wrong impression. So I might, can I get some more information from you on the best way to sort of try and tap into the markets that I need?
Definitely. I think, hats off. Again, I said the county's really resilient, and it's a perfect example, Jenna. I think it's absolutely brilliant that you're thinking out of the box. You're thinking, how can we be part of this? So sounds like an amazing project. You're obviously going to have quite a lot to cover off, and I think what would probably be best if we have chats, we could do a one-to-one afterwards at some point through the week, put a bit of an action plan in place, because time is of the essence for the product launch. So
nicely,
I think let's have a round robin, and again that stands for anyone on the call who does want a quick chat with me one-to-one. that's part of the Growth Hub service that we offer. So I'm more than happy. There's quite a lot of you on the call, so if everybody wanted it, it would take me time to get through it, but I will definitely try and get round to anybody who doesn't want that. So I will be putting my email address at the end. So
that's a free service.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Thanks, Fiona.
Thank you. Lovely. Any more at this stage? I know we're sort of coming up for time. We've covered a lot of the rest of it because I like chat. We've already got through there. But again, this is something really important, that if you do start something new with your marketing, it's about testing. I can't give any of you, nobody can give you the formula for what marketing is the perfect spend for your business with the perfect return first time. Marketing, unfortunately, doesn't work like that. It's very much trial and error to find your golden formula. So if you have a small budget aside, try a new media type, try some new messaging. If you are going to put spend to your marketing, check back, use the analytics, tweak, and then continue. So at the moment, there's a lot of things that we've talked about that you can do without spend, which is always crucial in a time like this. So definitely do all of that first. But if you decide you do want to put a bit of budget to some paid LinkedIn or some paid Facebook advertising or some Google AdWords, or you want to spend with an agency, or however that spend looks like, just make sure you do a bit of a trial. Make sure that you've just got a little bit more caution than you would at the moment. And again, this stands generally as well, to always monitor and evaluate your marketing before you add the next stage of the campaign in. We've heavily talked about being gentle at the moment, going back to the customer journey, about being gentle with potential new customers. And again, that's, for me, it's not doing things like connecting on LinkedIn and then straight away trying to sell to them in the direct message. It's about just keeping it soft and adding value in the first stages. So if we remember back to that customer journey, we're trying to get people to make their own decisions, because we all, and I say it all the time, we're all armchair experts in everything that we do at the moment. So we want to make our own sales decisions. We don't want to be sold to, do we? As a nation, that's how it is now. We've got access to so much information online. So put enough information out there that the customer can feel that they're making their own decision. And you don't need to push or sell too heavily to do that. It's about flicking that around in your mind to get that message in to be useful for them, rather than to be pushy and sell to them. Sales conversations can come once you've built those relationships. And again, just to finish up, there's a load, and I know that a lot of people on the call today, there's loads of business support in our county. We're very, very lucky. We have fully funded support. We've got the Growth Hub, of course, that we've talked about now. We've got specialists in funding and finance. We've got HR, myself in marketing. We've got some accredited business advisors as well, who are absolutely brilliant for the all-rounder. We can help you in many ways that moving forward. We can put you also in touch with partner organisations who can help with what you need. Chamber have done an absolutely amazing job throughout the pandemic. I know that they've got their helpline set up, and they're willing to help any business at the moment who needs support. Please get in touch with them as well. They've got their mentoring program, which might be a perfect time for you to really to get a mentor on board and to glean from them what they need and what they know at this stage. Of course, you've got your own networks, you've got your business associates, your accountants, your business advisors, your consultants. Please use everybody at the moment that you can. You've got your chamber members if you're in the membership. Sharing business ideas and sharing tools is a really great way to get through this at the moment. And of course, we know we've got government and local authority, so it is just to say that we are together stronger. And please feel free to come to any of these that are listed there to get that additional help and support. We want this county to thrive. We want to come through the other side of this as strong as we went in. Maybe that's naive, but maybe we've got some opportunity here. We've just heard from Jenna, who, she's completely diversifying and adding to her business model. I do believe there's some opportunity out there to really come through the other side in some strong shape. So use the support that's out there. That's what it's for. I'm going to put our contact details here. So you've got the business helpline, which is the first point of call for the Growth Hub. So if anything other than marketing that you want to speak to the Growth Hub about, contact the business helpline. They will then put you in touch with the right person, whether that's one of our accredited advisors or that's one of our partner organisations. If you've got any queries, you can, please take a second just to jot down my email address, ping me something over, and let's have a chat. Let's take it further and see how we can help you. I know somebody pops their hand up, so we've got another question, have we, Laura?
Just dealing with Sean's in the Q&A, and she said, thank you so much for the crucial information. Are we okay to tag you on Instagram to support this?
Of course you are. The more the merrier.
Brilliant, fantastic. Just seeing if anybody else has got their hand up. Can't see anybody else. Has anybody else got any questions for Fiona before we wrap up today?
I can see one there from Jane.
Brilliant, fantastic. Bear with me 1 second. Jane, can you hear us? You've got yourself on.
I can, yeah. Hi.
Jane.
Are you repeating this event at all, Fiona?
To be honest with you, Jane, I'm sort of open to what the community's looking for, really. So if you feel, were you thinking for yourself or were you thinking for somebody else?
I am thinking for myself, because when you advertised it, it said that it was at 10 a.m. UTC, which is actually 11 a.m. British summertime. So I've only just come in and I've missed quite a chunk of it. That's why I was asking. But I'm sure there's other ways that we can perhaps have a chat. And
definitely pop me an email, Jane. Right. I don't know quite what's happened there, or in terms of the time and how that's come across. So I really apologise for that, but I'm definitely happy to have a chat with you and work through the content that we've covered.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Jane, what I would say before you go is we do record all the sessions. So Chambers Library and Webinar Library, you can watch any of the webinars that we've ran right from the beginning. So right from the beginning of April, any webinar you want to watch or re-watch. So this one will be available, probably not till Monday now, but it will be available on our Webinar Library for you to pick up at any time at your leisure.
That's fabulous. Thanks very much, Laura.
No, you're welcome. Just a couple of things in the chat as well. Fiona Hawkins, hi Fiona. She says that they actually do free training on Google Business for those of you that mentioned Google Business earlier on. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pop that link in the chat for everybody to see, just so anybody that actually wants to pick up the free. Oh, excuse me, don't know what I've done there. Just spammed a load of stuff in the chat, which is never good. I'm just going to try again. Let's try again, shall we? Sorry, everyone. I just accidentally had a copy and paste of a. Oh, it's not letting me do it. Try again. I'm going to see, again, if you want to carry on talking, I'm just going to see if I can try and get this link in, because it doesn't seem to.
Lovely, and thank you for that. Thanks for that offer for everyone, Fiona. That's really appreciated. I know there's clearly a lot of appetite out there at the moment, so definitely Fiona works for Plink Fizz and really she's also on the Chamber Board as well. She'll be able to support you on that if anybody wants that.
Fiona says I'm having problems with grabbing that link, so I'm going to try again, but I get the feeling it's not going to let me do it. But what we'll do, Fiona, just because I can't seem to get the link to work without putting everything that I have originally put on, what I'll do is I'll grab that link and we'll actually send it to all the attendees today, so everybody should be able to get a copy of that link there. So just bear with me. Brilliant. Okay, and we've got a couple more questions. I'll try to get through them.
I was just going to say, Laura, as well, and I know if anyone's got to pop off the call, I think there seems to be quite a lot of appetite for questions and answers, so we might look to put in a full marketing question and answer session where we don't cover content, but we'll just work through everybody's questions with some answers, and hopefully then that will help the rest of the people on the call, so that might be something we can look at doing as well.
Brilliant. Michael's just said to everybody, say that the Skills Hub, so the Skills Hub will also be able to support marketing training and offer grant funding towards this also as well, just in case anybody's interested in that. And let's just see if we've got any more.
And again, just to back that up, Michael, you know, sorry, didn't put that on the slide, but the Skills Hub are an absolutely brilliant organisation. They work side by side with the Growth Hub. They were set up, it's almost coming up to 12 months ago now, and they've got a huge pot of money that can help support any businesses out there with some part-funded training. Marketing's a huge area of that now. It's not accredited training. But that fits in really nicely with social media courses. So definitely, if you want to use my email address as the first point of call and you are interested in talking to the Skills Hub about that funded training, then I'll absolutely put you in touch with them. Thanks, Michael.
Brilliant. And then we've just got a couple more. Just a couple of people saying thank you, actually. Fiona just saying that they really enjoyed your webinar today. Sean's just asked, do we tag you on Instagram as Chamber Growth Hub or Fiona?
To be honest with you, with Instagram, I'm going to put it out there that we've not got one for the Growth Hub. With the Chamber, we've not been active on there throughout the pandemic, so we're very much Twitter at the moment. If you've got a Twitter account, you can tag in at Growth Hub Staffs. You can tag in myself, which is SCCI_Fiona, or you can tag in the Chamber as well, which is at Staffs Chambers. So yes, we're very much about Twitter, just purely because we were running our Instagram account. We used imagery from the events, which of course our lounges are not quite as exciting for Instagram at the moment. So we have wound that network down a little bit for the pandemic. So definitely hop onto Twitter if you've got one. Thank you.
Brilliant, fantastic. And I think that's it really. I don't think we've got any more questions.
I think we've got some more popping in the Q&A.
No, just thank yous.
All right, great. I've got notifications this end.
So it's just all thank yous, just people.
Oh, lovely.
Fiona, not a problem at all. I've just noticed somebody else has just got their hand up. So
lovely.
We'll just give Jane one last. Just want to check Jane, just see if Jane wants to ask another question. Jane, do you still want to ask a question?
Hear me?
Yes.
No, I'm fine, thank you. That's great. Thank you very much.
No, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Brilliant. I think that's it from everybody. Fiona, you've been absolutely fantastic today. I can't thank you how good that webinar was, and I hope all the attendees got as much out of it from it as I did. So really pleased today. Is there anything you want to add, Fiona?
No, just again, thank you to everyone. Really enjoyed it. I think let's make this the start of the conversation. I've been working in marketing for over 15 years, as you would have seen when you registered, and it's impossible to share any tips that I've got in an hour. So if you do want to carry that conversation on, please let's keep that going. Again, look out for all the webinars. I know the Chamber's got a huge program of webinars at the moment. If you like this format, if you want to get a brew every morning or afternoon and sit and listen and get involved, they work slightly different ways, each one of them, but certainly check out the Chamber webinar content. The Growth Hub have also got some new webinars coming up as well, so hop over onto the Growth Hub website, but use my email address for a first port of call and I can hopefully signpost you to the right place. Thank you everyone for joining us.
Yes, brilliant. Thank you ever so much, everybody, and stay safe.
Stay safe, take care.
Bye. Bye.